This podcast is brought to you by Rebecca Castles of the Rising Dawn series. Do you like violence? Do you like smut? Are you tired of the stereotypical novels of werewolf romance out there and want something a little bit different? Then pick up Sparked Revolution, Book 1 in the Rising Dawn series by Rebecca Castles. Available on Amazon, in Kindle, and paperback. You too can become a sponsor of Stories, The True and the Fictional by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/STTATF or follow the link in the show notes. Hello guys, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Stories, The True and the Fictional. We've got another great interview, but before we bring her in, Ryan, how are we going?
LVD, mate, LVD, living the dream, living the dream. I had a good week this week, saw the amazing Fantastic Four movie, so go out and check it out if you're a Marvel fan. We're getting back to the good stuff, to the early, Iron Man 4, Captain America movies, none of this multiverse stuff, which is really hard to follow. So, check it out, and I had a great week. Lots of reading, started reading some books from some of the authors that we've recently spoken to, and loving it.
Yeah. You're reading The Clatterman at the moment.
I am really, really good. I'm about almost halfway through it. I started reading it not last night, the night before. And I was going to plan to read one chapter and then one comic book. One chapter, then one comic book. I ended up reading like 5 chapters to one comic book because it was really... It's a really good... it's a typical, college students going away for a long weekend, summoning a long past killer, and all hell ensues. That's really good, really well written. I love my horror, and I'm really glad I started to read The Clatterman by Janelle Sheen?
Sheeky.
Janelle Sheeky.
Yeah.
So, great book.
Yeah. She was on a few weeks ago, I think.
She was, and I've got her other 2 books too, which I'm really looking forward to reading after I finish Clatterman.
Yeah, and I'm reading currently, of time of recording, Don Campbell's Whispers in the Woods. It is
Great
creepy. Book. He sent me the photos because it's based in his hometown.
Yeah.
And he sent me all these photos and well, it reminds me of my town, which is surrounded by a forest, and now I don't want to go bushwalking, so thank you, Don.
Well, it's got a real, I think he described it as Stand By Me meets It. Like a very Stephen King small town, small town story. It was. I finished it. He literally sent me 2 books after we interviewed him, and I finished them both quite quickly. So he's another great horror writer. So
completely brilliant. Yeah. So guys, we've rambled enough. Remember to check out our sponsors: Rebecca Castles, Martin Kearns. They've got some great books out. All their links are down in the show notes. Buy Ryan's shirt, Living the Dream shirt.
Yeah.
Buy it.
I don't write. I'm not focused enough to actually write a book. The most I do is write songs, but please buy my shirt. No one's bought my shirt yet.
Yes.
And it's getting to the stage where my wife said she's going to buy it, so I feel loved. So please, buy my shirt. Live in the dream. You too can live the dream like I do.
You're not really living the dream unless you're wearing it on your chest. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Cool. All right. Now that the promo's done, let's bring in our guest. Allison Bettes, how are we?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming along. It's going to be great. So the question we have for you, first off the bat, is who is Allison Bettes?
She is by day a science writer and meteorologist. So during my day job, I write about climate, weather, space, basically anything science related. But it's all nonfiction. And during COVID, with all the extra time on my hands, as many of us were kind of trapped in our homes, I decided to take all of those weird, fun stories that were going on in my brain and put them to paper and kind of go the fiction route. And then, fast forward 5 years and 4 books later, I finally decided to actually publish them and go from there.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I started writing in COVID. It's just like
I think a lot of people did. A lot of authors that we've spoken to, are the only people that actually liked COVID because it made them knuckle down and start writing.
Yeah.
And getting those thoughts in your mind that I'm not nearly creative enough to even be able to write. So I think it's really good that, that's one good thing that's come out of our lockdowns over COVID, is that we've got so many good books.
Hmm. What do you say we jump into these icebreakers? We do icebreakers for all our guests. They're mandatory.
Do it.
Um,
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go first this time, Ryan. I think you
Yeah,
went first last time, but
I did. You did.
we do encourage selfish answers. All right.
Yeah. So
So
set the scene for the first question, like I always do.
you go to a Miss Universe contest and there's a genie there and he grants all their wishes. So world peace. There's no poverty. There's the ones that people tend to lean towards, the politically answers. We want pet peeves here.
Got it.
We want you to
Okay.
be what drives you up the wall kind of thing. So
Got it.
with that in mind, if you could get rid of anything in the world, what would it be?
Mosquitoes.
We've had
And again, not necessarily from the disease standpoint. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
that's bad.
Yeah.
It's more my husband, my family, and I joke, I'm the one that gets bit all the time. I must have that blood type that just attracts them. I can be sitting with a group of
Yeah.
people and maybe one or two other people might get a bite or two, and I'll have 17. So it's from a selfish standpoint of I just despise mosquitoes. I do.
Mm.
I can't stand it.
Yeah, we've had that a few times.
A few people lately that we've had on the podcast have said get rid of mosquitoes, and
Yeah.
I just say, they're the closest thing to vampires that we have. So I'm on board with getting rid of them, because they're, especially out in Australia, we tend to have a lot,
Yeah.
like a lot of mosquitoes. It's really, really bad out here. So yeah, I'm on board 100%. Let's get rid of them.
Yeah, I got a bug zapper that I have to set up every night.
So you're
You know.
literally getting rid of them.
Yeah. I got a nice collection of them at the moment. Yeah. But they keep sending their friends, hey, where'd Barry go?
Yeah. There you go.
They're Hydra. They're Hydra, Ryan.
Okay. You kill one and two more take
Two
their
more
place.
appear. That's it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
All right.
Or no, definitely get rid of those guys.
Cool.
Okay. Well, question number 2 is, what is something that is on your bucket list?
That would be to visit all 7 continents. Got 3,
Okay.
but I would like to. I think it would just be really. I mean, obviously, Antarctica is probably going to be the toughest one to knock off that list. But no, that would be a goal. Would be to just say that I've visited all 7. I think that would be so awesome.
So which 3 have you been to?
Africa, Europe,
Okay.
and North America.
Oh,
Ooh.
wow. That's all. I was waiting for you to say Australia, but I do understand people not wanting to come and visit us because we have a lot of things that can kill you.
Like mosquitoes. No,
The mosquitoes are like fairy flocks out here. We've got spiders, snakes, sharks, crocodiles, everything. You name it, they'll kill you.
Drop bears.
Drop
The
bears,
irony is we had a trip planned. Our plan was to spend like the Christmas and New Year's holiday. We had planned out about a year ahead of time to go visit around Christmas of 2020. And because of COVID, we canceled that trip and we've just never really been able to reschedule it. But no, my husband and I, we'd love to visit Australia, New Zealand, kind of do all of that in one trip. But yeah, no, COVID kind of took that choice away from us. So hopefully we'll get back there soon.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's worth checking out. It's a nice place. And I spoke to someone from America and he says I think it's only the tourists that die. So if you're with someone that's
Yeah.
with someone that knows the area, you'll probably be all right,
Okay, see what I can
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Well, just if you ever come out, just reach out to us and we'll keep you safe. We'll try to anyway.
Will do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll be your muscle.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll be your muscle. Jamie will be your intelligence.
The tour guide. He can be the tour guide.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're like, that over there can kill you. That over there can't kill you. I was on a podcast recently where they did this whole segment for me and it was called Can I Kill It or Will It Kill Me? And it's like
I would guess.
and it's posting they had a kangaroo and then they had like, a koala and it's pretty funny. Shout out to Tim McKay and Isaac Anderson. They have a streaming channel on YouTube and X called All Caps. They're great guys. And they like to poke fun at Australians sometimes. But yeah, okay, let's move on to the next one. This is one of my favorites. Okay, I'm going to bring up a a picture so you can get
Okay.
get the visual idea of what we're going for here. If if you could create a Mount Rushmore of TV shows,
There you go.
I got the words right. What would be on your on your Mount
So,
Rushmore of TV shows? I can't
do you
speak
want to do you
today.
want to do you want to try again? Just take a breath, and it's just
Allison,
because it's
what is on your Mount Rushmore of TV shows? There we go.
So yeah, so I'm a child of the 80s. So I've got two that are older shows, like
Hmm.
really older shows, and then two that would be more kind of modern shows. So the more modern
okay.
day ones would be Ted Lasso. Loved
Yes.
that show. Fantastic. And it may
Yeah.
be not like as modern, a show called Burn Notice. I don't know if you
Oh
know that.
yeah.
Oh, two for
I noticed
two.
it's great. Two for
Yes,
two.
love both of those. So those are my more modern day ones.
Mm.
And then my more old school that I would have would be Golden Girls. I like, and I know that's a really old show, but for me it was a funny show, but it
Yeah.
also was memories. Like I would stay with my grandma and she would let me stay up late at night to watch it because she loved it. So I kind of just it was more like a bonding moment between the two of us, even though I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure, at a young age, like a lot of those jokes went straight over my head.
Yeah.
But love that. I mean, wearing my Golden Girls t-shirt.
Oh.
Super fan. And then the other would be Murder, She Wrote. Again, big in like the
Wow.
80s and
Yeah.
90s. Again, it was more the crime solving thing.
Yeah.
But as a child, there wasn't, it didn't have like a lot of the gore and the blood, as a
Yeah.
child to watch. It was more just about like solving the mysteries.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
loved stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
those would be my
That
four.
that was my
Solid.
my grandmother when she was still with us, her favorite show. She would
Yes.
we actually bought her I think out here they came out with season one on DVD. We bought it for her, but she didn't know how to use a DVD player, so we then had to teach her how to use a DVD player, and then she'd be able to watch the first season all the time. But I could definitely agree with that. Ted Lasso for sure.
Mm.
Jamie got me onto that. That is one of my, it'd be on my Mount Rushmore as well.
Yeah.
And we're getting a season four coming out soon, which is awesome.
Yes.
That's going to be good. And definitely Burn Notice. Jamie put
Oh
me onto
yeah.
that as well.
Yeah.
So, I can get behind Burn Notice as well. So I think your picks, and who doesn't love the Golden Girls, Like you all grew up with that.
Hmm.
So I think you're 4 from 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome. No, look, Ted Lasso. I love Bill
Mhm.
Lawrence, who wrote Scrubs,
Yeah.
and everything he does is gold. Even his obscure sitcoms, which I think he did one called Undateable, and it was like 3 seasons or whatever. Hardly anybody knew about it, but it was fantastic. He did I think the whole third season was live, like literally recorded and filmed live, and
Oh, wow.
all the stuff ups were in it, all the improvs were in it. You could see people trying not to break, and it just felt really real. It was so good. Um, yeah, so definitely with that, Burn Notice, 100%. I binged that. I think season 4 had just come out, and I just binged all 4 seasons. It was just
All of them. Yeah.
anything Bruce Campbell, I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, I'll put that down.
Awesome. All right. Question number 4. What is your zombie apocalypse plan?
Honestly, I don't have one. Probably just run faster than everybody else. It's probably what it would come
I
down
like
to.
it. Nice and simple. Let's just try and outrun everyone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like it. Unfortunately, I'm in a wheelchair, so I would not be able to outrun, but I've got a pretty snazzy wheelchair. I'm getting up to good speeds. I can definitely outrun my wife. I can outrun my dad, but they're the two people that I want to keep alive. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to,
But you could maybe plow down some other people on the
I
way.
like it.
So
I
that could
like it.
work.
You could
I
Mhm.
like that.
you could add some sidecars to your wheelchair, and they can hop in,
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
and they can have
There you
machine
go.
guns or
I
baseball
look
bats.
baseball bats with nails on them, like
Yeah,
Walking Dead. That'd be
Negan.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, it depends. I have to get around to doing this. We have to do the map thing, Ryan.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Because what we do, Alison, is we basically one guest we had a discussion where we have different zombies for different parts of the world. So, like in the UK, we have the 28 days later zombies because that's where they were based. So they're the super fast ones that jump through walls and everything. So the UK is pretty much up the
Gone.
creek. But we figured that the US would probably get the Walking Dead zombies. So they're the slow ones. There's no real fast ones,
Yeah.
or anything like that. But our last guest was currently residing in Spain. We didn't know any zombies
I
that we
found
could
one.
have
I
for
found a
Spain.
movie.
Oh,
I
you
found a
found
movie.
one.
I found a movie. What was it called? It was called Apocalypse, but the S with a Z or something. I don't know. But it's like
Okay,
a
okay.
Spanish zombie movie, but they're normal zombies, you know. So
Well, there you
I
Well,
go.
put it
fun
up.
Yeah,
fact,
we.
Hmm?
I was gonna say, fun fact, The Walking Dead was actually shot about an hour away from my house.
Oh, really?
Did you see zombies
Yeah,
walking down the street?
I wasn't that close, but I do know some friends that went, you know, to try to become extras in the
Yeah,
movie, and they said it was surreal because there's all these people in costumes walking, and
yeah,
it felt creepy almost
yeah.
seeing all the people in their costume walking around. But yeah, no, it was
Yeah.
kind of cool that they were that
Yeah.
close and not
Some
real.
Wow.
Yeah. Who were we talking to recently, Ryan, who said that there's a place where it gets filmed so much. I think maybe Tim Carter, where props were being left up and they had to like of people like hanging from bridges like it was like a murder or whatever. And I had to tell
Yeah,
people that this isn't real, this is a prop and it's for the movie. It's just like
I think I think it was Tim Carter,
yeah.
the guy who wrote for video games.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was him. Yeah, he I think it was where like he has sort of a summer home or a country home or whatever you guys call
Yeah.
them. Um, yeah, and he said when he goes there to write, he said that they would leave props and they'd be hanging off the bridge and they'd have to sort of put out a notice saying this is not a real dead body, this is a prop for the movie.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
funny. I
Yeah,
like
because
it.
I think he lives in Canada near where they do a lot of the Stargate filming and
Yeah,
all you know that famous forest that's in everything? Like
yeah.
have you seen a show called The 100? Allison?
No. Mm-mm.
Um which was filmed in the same place as Resident Alien, which is, you know, currently in
Okay.
its last season. And I was watching 100 and then I stopped and there's a lake. I was going and I literally stopped, took a photo of it, and then pulled up Harry's cabin from Resident Alien. It was the exact same location. And
Oh,
it's just
wow.
creepy. I was watching the last Airbender, the new one on Netflix, and they're running through the forest. I'm going, Stargate, like you just you know that forest inside and out. And apparently there's like it's where everybody goes to film in Canada, you know.
That's crazy.
Like I
Yeah.
recognize a fallen log. It's that, you know.
And that's the reason, like I said in the last week's episode, where I couldn't get into Stargate because it was like, oh, we're going to a brand new world and it's the same
It's
freaking
Canada.
forest. I was
No.
like, I've seen enough of Canada. I'm okay. I don't need to
Yeah.
watch
Yeah.
another, 10
No, well,
seasons of it.
at least the first 5 episodes were different. Yeah, they had the desert
Yes.
planet, you had and all that stuff. But then they lost, you know, budget. Um, and it's just like, oh, well, we'll go out back.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Like the movie was great because we went to like the ancient Egyptian world kind of
Yeah,
thing and
yeah,
everything. But yeah, no, I
yeah.
couldn't get behind 10 seasons of a Canadian forest.
Yeah. I know that forest too well. Just like I could go to New York and be fine because of all the Spider-Man games I've played. Um,
Yeah, know
oh,
all
that's
the
where this is,
streets.
you know? Yeah, inside and out. All right, let's bring it home with the last icebreaker question, one of my favorites. So Bill and Ted rock up outside your house in their phone booth time machine and say, "Whoa, Allison, Rufus asked us to give you a free ride in our phone booth time machine. Where do you want to go?"
So this is a tough question. So I guess my question to you is, am I allowed to change the course of history, or am I more just being there as a witness? Like I get
Completely
to watch and see everything unfold,
free
but I can't really
range.
fix anything.
Up to you. Like
Oh,
free ride.
Yeah,
It's
we
it's
don't
Bill and it's
say.
Bill and Ted. They probably don't know that.
fair,
Yeah,
fair.
they're probably. You know what you could do? You could go back in time to like a minute and erase Jamie's really bad American accent,
Yeah, it
because
I
that would be
think from
offensive.
was Canadian.
from the correct answer would be, to go back in time to some travesty and,
Yeah.
like try to fix it. But from a truly selfish standpoint, I think it would be really cool to go back to the Last Supper. I don't need to say anything. I just kind of want to be at the table and just listen to the conversations that took place at that table. Almost kind of be a fly on the wall, but actually
Yeah.
physically being there. I think that would just be really cool.
Can you speak
So
Aramaic, or
that
would
and
you need a
that's not just
translator?
No, but again, like I'm
Yeah.
hoping maybe the translation thing in the phone booth just kind of
Oh,
happens.
okay.
Maybe I
Yeah.
just
All
magically
right. Yep.
learn
Yep.
it in the
Yep.
phone booth. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
and now are you actually going back to find out what they said, or are you just going back so you could be in that picture?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe both. Maybe both. I mean, it would be cool. I'd be like the only girl in the picture,
Yeah.
so that would be pretty sweet.
I
No, but yeah, just to kind of hear
yeah.
the conversation would be
Yeah.
awesome.
I love that meme that's where it's just going like the disciples rock up um to the Last Supper, and they're going like, a table for 24, please. They're going, but there's only 12 of you. We all want to sit on one side of the table. Yeah, no, that's not the first time we've had. I think someone came back and he said he just wanted to hang out with the disciples.
Right.
You know, which is, what's his name? His name is eluding me. He's from England, and he's a beard.
We've had a lot of English guests.
I will put his name up on the screen in post because I have that magic. I think it's McCormack or something. It's not Amy Cormack.
Not Amy Cormac. Amy
It's
Cormac.
someone McCormack. Wow, it's been a while since we've spoke about Amy. Um, but
I know. That's why I
yeah.
thought I'd throw his name in.
No, well, I won't ask our guest the Amy Cormack question because she doesn't write books with maps in them. Do you? Do your books have
No.
maps?
No.
No.
Nope. No, they do not.
Now, your books have a very attractive men on the front cover. So
For
that's
the
something my
ebooks,
wife
yes.
would like. Yeah.
Yes. But I do have discrete covers for the paperback.
Ooh,
So
Oh,
all right.
okay.
Well, why don't we segue now that you've passed the icebreaker questions
Very
um,
well. Yeah.
very well? Let's segue into everything about you. Tell us how writing began for you. Like, was it the COVID thing, or did you dream about writing before that? Like, how did you get to this point where you've released all these wonderful books?
no, I mean, so the day job is science writing. So I mean, you can say I've written
Yeah.
before, but
Yeah.
just not in the book
Yeah.
context. Um,
Hmm.
So no, it's I think during COVID, sitting at home. I mean, my husband jokes I'm going to be so ready to be an old person because I started crocheting, I would do puzzles, I would watch Golden Girls reruns, and I would write. Like those were the four things I did during COVID. So I'm so ready. But no, it started honestly with just writing down some of the thoughts that would come into my head. And my sister and I both like to read. So, you'd write it down and you send it to her and we'd go back and forth. And I think after a little while, she was like, yeah, I don't really like doing this. But I found I really genuinely enjoyed writing fake stories down. So then it kind of, okay, what if I added a few extra parts? Okay, what if I added a few more chapters? And so eventually it was actually, so I redid the order. So the first book I wrote is actually the second one I published.
Mm.
But when I actually
Okay.
sat down to write it, it ended up becoming longer and longer and finally ended up having, what would amount to a full-size novel. Then it became, what if I wrote about this other character and gave that character a book? So because my first one is a series, they are standalones, but they're connected through some of the characters. And so it just ended up being writing another one, then writing another one. I finally got to the fourth one, and I think my husband was like, dear Lord, just publish them. Just instead of just
Yeah.
having them on your computer where, you and maybe one other person reads them, just publish them. So, I never, all four of them never went into it with the intention of publishing them. It was more just taking the thoughts that were in my head and writing them down and then
Yeah.
having the extra time to actually do it. I truly think it's one of those things. If COVID did not happen, I don't think I ever would have done this. I
Mm.
can't say I'm one of those people that it's been a lifelong dream to write a
Yeah.
book. I've always admired people that do, but it's not in my mind, I guess I just never assumed I had the time to sit down and do a book justice to get it out there. COVID changed that. So, yeah.
Did you
And
do
then
you think
why?
that might have oh sorry, do you think that might have been because of what you do for your day job? Because you're writing a lot for your day job, you think, that it's kind of like it's the last thing you want to sit down and do, or it's the last thing on your mind?
No, yes and no. And I will say, I do think my day job helped, certainly when it came to editors. because I have an editor
Mhm.
that edits my writes every single day. So, some people, they say, struggle with, that feedback they get.
Mm.
I'm so used to the constructive criticism. So the editing was not a big deal for me at all.
Mhm.
Those kind of things, to be able to sit down and focus, because sometimes I have stories that have to be written same day. So the ability
Yeah.
to, like, writer's block, I've already learned like what tricks and, work for
Okay.
me when I get stuck, how
Mm.
to come out of that. Um,
Mhm.
but no, I don't know that it gave me the creativity, because what I write about is strictly nonfiction. It's a lot more research based,
Yeah.
things like
Okay.
that. Whereas fiction, I mean, yes, there's some research involved. I mean, some of my characters do things that I've never done before, so you kind of
Yeah.
have to look it up. And I write romantic suspense, so people get murdered, scary things happen, and I'm not a medical expert. So I have to look up, what do you do to a gunshot wound? What do you do when you get a cast? Those kind of things you have to look up. But outside of that, it is still fiction. So a lot of it is just completely made up, which I can't do in my day job. So answer your question, I think it's yes and no. There's parts of my day job that genuinely did help me write with fiction, but other parts were just completely different.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's a completely
Awesome.
different style, you know. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I've read a lot of nonfiction that's reads like a narrative. Um, I'm sure that's probably not something you could do for work, you know.
No.
It'd be interesting.
And I often have a word count limit,
Yeah,
because a lot of times it gets published,
yeah,
in entities where space can be an issue. So, a novel, you don't have that. I mean,
yeah,
somebody can do a
Mhm.
novel that's 60,000 words. You can have one
yeah,
that's 90,000 words.
yeah,
So that was also nice, having a little bit more creative freedom to make it any length that I needed to.
yeah. I started doing short stories. I entered my first competition, and it has a word limit. I'm going, ugh, because it's just I had to take something out that I liked. Um, and yeah, I don't like restrictions. Um,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard for me because I just like to. I break all the
And I
rules.
suppose, and I suppose being indie authors, like you say, you don't have that restriction. Like you were saying with your day job, you don't, you have the certain parameters that you need to make. You can't sort of just free flow. Whereas, the writing that you're doing now, obviously, you have complete control over that. So it must be a little bit more, interesting, and a little bit more sort of something that you want to do.
Oh, there's definitely more creative freedom to the fiction
Mhm.
writing, because, when you write, so I'll give you an example. It's one of the Australian stories that I wrote about, and I love it to this day. It's I still count it as one of my favorite articles. I wrote about Storm Hector, the one that's up in
Okay.
Darwin, the storm that happens at the same time every day in your warmer months. I
Yeah.
wrote about that, and it was fantastic. But I found myself wanting to add in more things, like, oh, well, what if, the backstory of, how it came about because of World War
Yeah,
II. But you're limited so much on the space that, you have to condense everything so that it
yeah,
still keeps the reader engaged,
yeah,
but, you've hit your character limit.
yeah,
That is one thing that I can definitely do in a much easier fashion with fiction books,
yeah.
because if I feel like this needs 2 chapters to explain,
Mm-hmm.
I can take 2 chapters. If it needs 2 paragraphs,
Yep.
so be it. The creative freedom and the flexibility is definitely much better with the fiction.
Yeah. 100%. Um, yeah. Cool. Well, let's talk about some of your books. Where did the ideas come from? Is it like a series that you do, following one character, or is it like tell us about it? I guess tell us about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's right now I've got 4 books, because those are the 4 that I wrote during COVID. And it all takes place at a private security firm. And so the books they are standalone. You can read them in any order. It doesn't really matter. But you're basically, each individual book is about one of the men that works for the company.
Oh, cool.
So, the first book follows the first gentleman and his love interest, because it is a romance. There's a happy ever after. The second book follows a different character. The third book follows a different character. But you learn all of them, like, the 2 people that are in the third book. You read about them in the first
Mm,
one. They just weren't the primary focus. So
yeah.
they're all interconnected, but they
Mm,
don't have to be read in any particular order.
mm,
So, I
Okay.
joke that, I write about soft-hearted badasses,
mm,
with sassy, brave women at their side. And I do love a plot twist. That is
yeah.
hands down, if you ask me, my favorite part of writing. It's creating a plot twist.
Mm,
There's it's a suspense. So, there's some element of like mystery to it, But I want people when they read the book to think they've figured out where this is going. And then at the end, be like, oh, wow, I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
That to me, and when you read reviews, when you talk to readers, if they say that, I did not see that coming, that to me is, that matters more to me than if they say I like the book.
Yeah.
Like just to be able to know that I've tricked them and
Yeah.
that they did not see that plot twist coming,
Yeah.
that I consider a bigger achievement. I love being able, especially for people who read a lot,
Yeah.
that are maybe already trained to start to look for things like that. That's definitely been a plus for me. So, this series will probably end up with 6 books. When it's all said and done, I've got 2 more characters
Mm-hmm.
that I really wanted to add on, other side characters in the books. Just haven't finished them, probably won't come out till next year. But when I finished writing the 4th one, started having ideas for a new series. So I've actually started transitioning to beginning to write that one. And, Jamie, you've probably heard this before. Like, people tell you the easiest thing is to write what you know.
Mm-hmm.
I did not do that for my first series. I have never worked for a private security company. I've
Yeah.
never been a bartender. I've never done any of the things that were in these books. I know people who have, but those were not written based off of my life experience. The second series is more of that. The tie-in for those books is all of the female main characters work in STEM-based jobs. So I've got a meteorologist, forensic scientist, a marine biologist. Those are a bit more in my wheelhouse because I have a science-based background. Those were definitely, again, they're not done yet, but that's been I don't know. The first series was fun to get into. This has been more interesting to write because it is more based off of my life and my
Yeah.
friends. So it's been kind of an interesting take to write.
Is it going to be set in the same universe?
Um,
Could it
there are
fit?
2 characters that yeah, there are two
Yeah.
characters that do intertwine. So the next series,
Yeah.
you meet one of the characters in the last book
All right.
of the
Cool.
first series. So if you read it, you would kind of know, but totally different
Totally. Yeah.
setting, stuff like that. But the characters could technically intertwine. Yes.
Yeah. Because with a private security firm and all that, you've got an endless list of characters you could create. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
like you could talk about the receptionist. What shady secrets does this
Yeah.
receptionist have?
And I did.
Oh
Yes.
my, yeah,
Yes.
there you go. See? The janitor.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah, for sure.
that's cool. That's cool. I'm assuming that your meteorologist, I can't say that word. Book is probably going to be the biggest one because you know the most about it.
I don't know.
Meteorologist?
It's not done. Yeah, I don't know. It's not done yet, but
No.
it has been fun. All of the fun things that I've learned, like like little tidbits that
Mm.
you can kind of throw in, or things that have happened in my job that I can pretend happened to the characters. That has definitely been
Yeah.
fun, but it is a fine line.
Yeah.
So I also don't want to put too much of myself into the
Yeah.
book where people think they're reading about my life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you've got to kind of walk that fine
Yeah.
line there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Um, so who's some of your influences? Some of the books you like to read. Maybe anything that inspired your 4 books and what's coming.
So I used to be a nonfiction writer or a reader. I mean, when
Yeah.
I first started like reading into books, I mean, I like kids' books, obviously, but I mean, when you get old enough to actually start
Yeah.
choosing your own books, I liked books about, it sounds bad, but I like books about natural disasters. I've read every
Mm.
book on things like Pompeii and Mount
Yeah.
Vesuvius to, major
Cool.
earthquakes that have happened. I liked learning about a lot of those things.
Yep.
Obviously, the science brain, went in that direction. But some of the first fiction books I read were actually my grandmother's. She
Mm.
had every Nora Roberts and Danielle Steele. I mean, if it had a half-dressed man in a kilt on the front, my grandma owned it. That was her jam. So she had all of those. But spending a lot of my summers with her, I would watch Golden Girls with her at night,
Yeah.
and I would often read some of the books that she had because that was the collection she had
Yeah.
in her house. And so those, to a certain extent, were kind of the inspiration. Those are the first romance books that I can ever remember reading. As I got older, I started to be able to pick books for myself. I have other people that have inspired me. Kristen Ashley is a big one. I liked her books, but also I would say she definitely inspired me as a writer. She has on her website, in like some obscure tab, um, in like the frequently asked questions, it's a PDF file that's like 20 pages long on how to self-publish.
Mm.
That PDF became my Bible for like 6 months. leading into publishing. I mean, she had so much detail in there. So it's kind of a twofold. I mean, I've read all of her books and I'm a huge fan, but it was also a big inspiration because there are things in that PDF that I know two other people who have written books, one who writes nonfiction,
Hmm?
and then another that writes fantasy books. And they're helpful, but one is traditionally published, one is indie. There's only so much that sometimes people can give you, but that document, without that document, I don't know that I also would have been able to publish because there was just so much
Okay.
information in there on how to get started. It
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah. I wish I had that because I just went, I'm going to write a book and made
Hey,
every
but you've
mistake.
made it work, and
Yeah.
people do. People make
Yeah.
it work with nothing. I just consider myself very fortunate that I had
Yeah.
access to that
No,
PDF.
I would have loved that because I wasted a lot of money. I made a lot of mistakes. Um, but now I've got a pretty good knack at it. And yeah, I just, I'm going to be getting more out. And Ryan's dying for the next book, apparently.
Yeah, I read his last book, and it was probably the first one that I read really quickly. Like in the span of 3 days. It was really good. So I've read all your stuff, and you are right. You learn as you go. Each book that you've written, and I'm sure it's the same for all indie authors, gets better every time. That every book that you write gets a little bit better because you're learning a little bit more. So yeah, for sure, I could
Yeah.
definitely get behind that.
So what's your process like with writing? Are you a plotter or a pantser? Do you map things out? What's it look like for you on your average day, I guess?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with an option C, and I'm going to explain that. I apologize because you're both men, so some of this you're not quite going to get, but you'll get there. So I, because I have a day job, I've converted my closet. So we have two doors that open, but they're solid doors. I have Post-its all over the door, and it's
Murderboard.
everything from characters. I mean, it looks like one of those crime scene boards. The only thing that's
Yeah.
missing is like the
Yeah.
red string,
There's three.
but it's Post-its where it's like plot ideas, characters, anything from titles. I mean, the whole thing, my poor husband, it's just like 100 Post-its all over our closet doors. So a lot of times that's great for me because I can put stuff up there and then I can move some things around. But in terms of writing, it's honestly when I have time. I've got a full-time job. I have a 10-year-old
Mhm.
son. I have a
Mm.
husband. It's, you kind of have to work around when you can get that done. And I always say my best ideas come when I'm at market for doing
Yeah.
laundry or going for a walk. I do have an app on my phone,
Mm.
and it's one of those where you can talk into it and then it will transcribe everything back.
Oh
So a
yeah.
lot of times I'm that weird neighbor. Like I'm the person that if people look outside and see me walking on the street, like I'm talking to myself in my phone, but I'm sitting there talking about plot points. Like I'll be like,
Yeah.
what if Ruthie went into the woods and there was like, I will talk out these plot points
Yeah.
to myself. And then it's great because it transcribes all the
Yeah.
nonsense I've
Yeah.
said, sends it to me in the email, and then I can actually put it back into my document.
Mm.
But that
Yeah.
way, even if I'm not sitting in front of my computer, all of those ideas go somewhere. My text thread to myself is novels. It's,
Mm.
dialogue that I'll think of at the grocery store or whatever. I'll text it to myself so that I don't
Mm.
forget. But in terms of plotter versus cancer, I'm probably a little bit in between, but I like to say that I am a hormonal writer. And what I mean by that is, depending on the time of the cycle that I'm in, like if I'm in the middle of the cycle, that's when I write my sexy, spicy scenes.
Mm.
If I'm like, I find that if I'm towards the back end, it's when I have the most energy and focus. You'll know this from writing. I mean, I consider myself lucky if I can write 500 to 1,000 words in a day, especially if it's a day that I've worked.
Yeah.
Those days, like towards the end of my cycle, when I've got energy and focus, I can write 3 to 5,000 words in a day, and it's
Wow.
not even hard. It
Yeah.
just comes to me. I can
Mm.
type it down. And then the first day of my cycle, when everyone pisses me off, those are the days I write my best murder scenes.
Kill them. Yeah.
Yes,
I
I
love
mean
it.
it's
I don't think I've ever had anyone describe their writing process like that. I think that's the most, it's the most realistic
Mm.
um realistic process to have because yeah, you're right. When like and it's not obviously we're not as males, we're not the same, but I have moments where when I have a really bad day or something like that, I just want to get on the PlayStation on the computer and just murder people.
Mm.
And then
Mhm.
when I'm having a good day, I want to do be nice and help people. So I can kind of get where you're coming out with the
Mm.
with that process,
Yeah, I
Emotional.
definitely.
mean again,
And
it's essentially the exact, yeah, it's exactly the same thing. It's just women can plan it a little bit more. It happens on
Yeah.
a more frequent
Yeah.
basis. But yeah, it's I mean truly I'm partly being funny, but I mean I can track it. I can say like, oh, okay, I'm at this point. Hey, you know what? Coming up in 2 days, those are going to be the days when I've got my energy and focus, and I will tell
Mm.
myself, make a point to actually be able to sit down and write. First
Mm.
day of the cycle, I'm be like, you
Yeah.
know what? You never finished that murder chapter. This is going to be the day to do that. So it does.
Yeah.
It kind of
Yeah.
yes, it's a very weird way to explain it, but it does work for me.
Do you ever find your husband
So,
sneaking post-it notes into your closet?
Uh, so I do have a section where I have to. I struggle most with side character names. So
Mm.
in my mind, I always know what the main character names, like like the top like 4 or 5 people you'd talk about the most. Those character names are important, so I spend a
Yeah.
lot of time thinking about those. But like the Susie, the person that they talk to at the
Yeah.
the market, or Joe, the person they meet on the bus. Those names, those
mhm.
are I struggle with because I don't want it to be too too obscure, but I also don't want it to be so common. Like you can't name it something like Joe Smith, that might
Yeah.
be somebody. So, or you can't name it
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake. That's kind of already a big name.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful. So I have a long list of post-its on the side where it's what I call my side character names.
Yeah.
Names where, I've vetted them. They're not actually a celebrity. I can mean it.
Yeah.
My husband has stuck his name a few times in that list because he wants to give himself a side
Yeah.
character. So he's done that before where he's kind of slid his name into some stuff like that.
Yeah. I put out a post saying, "Hey, do you want to be in my
Well,
book? I need
do
names."
you
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good way to do it.
do you ever have with obviously because your books, you do have people who get murdered and that's part of the premise. Do you ever give those people name, like the people that get murdered in your book, people that you don't like in real life?
I don't know if I should answer that.
Do you kill real people?
Ah,
Yeah.
so that's a
Um,
yes
I
in my book.
I truly genuinely try not to use real names for people. And
Yeah.
even if whether it's a good character or a bad character, because
Okay.
you start to run into things where like, and I've had friends who be like, so when are you going to put my name in a book? So it's one of those,
Yeah.
I don't want people to feel like if I haven't used it, I've left them out. Or, well, why'd
Yeah.
you make me this character? This character was crazy. So I've tried to actually like stay away. Now,
Yeah.
some of the characters are based on real people. There is a
Mm.
character in my first series. Her name is Tammy. She's a side character, but she recurs in almost every book. It's based off my friend Nikki.
Mhm.
The character is not the same, but the dry, witty humor that character has, I will sit there and think, what would Nikki say in this
Yeah.
situation? And that's how a lot of this stuff comes out. But I didn't want to name her Nikki. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like I didn't want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
so realistic that it was
Yeah.
too tied to that character.
Yeah.
I will say this: I've never seen the Deadpool movies.
Mm.
Seen a lot of Marvels and a lot of others, but
Okay.
I've never seen the Deadpool movies. And I remember sending my very first book to the editor, and she was like, "Yeah, so you named your character Wade Wilson, just so you're aware, like
That's
that is a
Deadpool.
character in Deadpool." And I was like, "I've
Oh
never," so I
wow.
had to rewrite the
Yeah.
whole character's name because I was
Wow.
like,
Oh
"Yeah, that's kind of a
no.
big deal." So I've gotten much better
Yeah.
about like actually Googling the
Yeah.
name combinations that I will make just to
Yeah.
make sure that it's not actually, somebody else that already exists.
Yeah.
And just in future, if you go like obviously with the Wade Wilson thing, comic book heroes generally have names that start with both letters. So maybe if you go with like two different letters, because that was the whole thing with Stan Lee and Jack Kirby back in the day. They were like Reed Richards, Peter Parker, Wade Wilson. It's just constantly Bruce Banner, like all of those people.
Yes.
They just got the first letter and go, okay, let's come up with a surname based on that first
Yeah.
letter. So
Yeah.
I think you'll be fine if you just don't go for double first letter.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I tend to not even give my characters last names.
I noticed that.
I just it's easy. It was yeah, you know.
Oh, yeah, some of them like you don't ever really mention it. The first one we did, there was a scene in the book where the mom was kind of a little out there, and so she had named all her kids the same letter. It kind of
Yeah.
became a thing. So in that
Yeah.
one, it did make it. You did have to mention the last name, but yeah, I guess you bring up a point. I've got a couple where I don't know that the last names ever even get brought up.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
people just don't interest in like I don't walk around going, "Hello, my name's Jamie Bright." You know. Yeah, it's just so Moses didn't have a last name. Jeez, come on.
There you go.
There you go.
But I like when you were talking about, having people that you know in the book. I've found doing this podcast, um, there's two kinds of people. There's people that like having their name in the book and like, please put me in the book, please put me in the book. And then there's people who don't like to be in the book. They're like, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm the former because we had horror author Don Campbell on. I'm like, can you please put me in your next book as a murder victim? I want to be, dismembered. I've always wanted to be in like some sort of horror thing, like a horror movie book series, because I love, 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 love horror. And he said, yes, no worries, I will murder you grotesquely in my next book. And I was like, thank you. And I said, feel free to use my full name. I'm happy for you to do that.
Yeah.
So,
He he put out a post saying, "I will literally kill you," and so you
yeah.
can sign up to be killed in his books. So it's such a cool
Actually
idea.
kind of cool though.
And I did when I put out my post saying who wants to be in my book, and then Amy Cormack reached out Ryan and said he wants to be an alien. I went,
Of course he did.
and I figured out how to make it work. So there's an alien called Amy
Oh, you
Cormack.
finally have.
Yeah, and I was like,
Oh,
it's going to be the
nice.
best
Right,
character. He's the best character, and yeah,
right.
I'm not going to mention. I haven't mentioned maps yet. I might because Amy
Well, I
Cormack is a
mean,
thing about maps.
I was going to respond to that post, but I thought, seeing as I'm one of your best mates, I shouldn't have to be. I should be a character in all of your books. And I was
All of
very
my books.
disappointed that I wasn't a character in Ancora, but I'm
Yeah,
hoping that I'm a character in
yeah,
iDestin.
yeah. Well, if you weren't in Ancora, then like if you were in Ancora, then you couldn't be in. That's
Oh,
because
okay.
there's a 240-year gap. You know,
I could be an immortal. You never know.
wrong universe. Anyway, let's not talk about me. Let's talk about our guest. Do we want to talk about the covers, Ryan?
Yes, please.
Yes. All right. I'll bring
You
up.
got to bring it up.
I'll bring up a foray of the four books.
So,
Um,
Alison, you could probably tell by the conversation that we've had. I grew up on. Yes, I read a hell of a lot of books. I read anything and everything pretty much. But I got my start when I was very young in comic books, and I haven't evolved out of that. I'm still reading comics to this day. So when it comes to art and covers, I'm pretty much that is how the book is going to get me. Now, in saying that, looking at your four covers with four gentlemen on the front of it, I'm happy they have t-shirts on because a lot of, as you say, like your grandmother's books would have men on the front covers without the shirts on. My mother-in-law's used to have a lot of those books, as my wife would tell me in her garage. But I like how now. First of all, are these real men or are these computer generated?
So yes, they are real people. So
Awesome.
I was really torn about this. I genuinely was because I was trying to figure out if I wanted to use books with real people on them or, as we call it, discrete covers where there's no people on them. And I went back and forth and finally just decided, there are some authors that do both. So for the ebooks, if you get the digital version, you have the ones with the male models on them. And yes, they are real people. In some cases, they have been photoshopped. So I want to be completely frank. Like for
Hmm.
the third book, the Deception book, that man does not have tattoos. So
Hmm.
I do not design the covers. Graphic art is not my forte.
Hmm.
I'm barely able to make a half pretty
Okay.
graphic in Canva. So I hired out for this. So I have a woman who designs all my covers, and that's what she does. She makes a ton of book covers. So she does use Photoshop to adjust some of these men. So, you want a t-shirt if they are wearing one to be a solid color so that you can put the writing on it. So in some of the instances, she, changed the color of the shirt, added or removed tattoos. I believe the first gentleman had a tattoo that we had to remove. The second one or the third one we added. So there have been Photoshop elements to it.
yeah,
The men in the photos are real. They are stock images of real men. They just, backgrounds, stuff like that may have been changed.
yeah,
So, oh, an eye color. The gentleman in the second does not actually have blue eyes. He needed to for my book. So little things like that have been tweaked, but they are real human beings. And then for the discrete covers, I wanted I wanted more like landscape photography. I wanted like an actual picture of a place. So two of them have city backgrounds. One has the city of Atlanta, which is where it takes place. The fourth one has the city of Las Vegas, which is where a bulk of the book takes place. And then two of the others are more just like general landscape, like one's a cabin, one is an office building, so things like that. But I wanted photography based ones for the paperback. So if you get the print copy, you have the discrete cover that are photography based
Yeah.
landscapes, and then the ebooks have the mail book covers on them. It's been interesting to see what people prefer, because there are some people that are like, oh man, that number 2 is steamy. I got to get the ebook. And other people, they want to be able to read it on the beach and not
Yeah.
have, a man on the front.
Gawking.
They want something,
Yeah.
just a different cover. So it's been interesting to kind of learn like what people's preference are. And I honestly think I might continue doing both, just because there are people that want, some people that want a little bit of both.
Yeah. Some people are embarrassed by a hunky man on the cover.
Exactly.
Yeah, Um, cool. I think the second cover, the Instinct. He looks like an actor, like a famous actor from way back when. I can't remember what his name is. Um, maybe it is him.
I don't know. Yes. I don't
Okay.
know any of their real names. I know
Yeah.
that, she gets a lot of her stuff from like Adobe stock images and deposit
Mm.
photos. So that's where she has, the
Yeah.
woman that designs my cover. I mean, that's where she gets a lot of the photos. So I don't know. It's very possible they could be,
Yeah.
something other than just models. They could have done acting work. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they all look like actors.
Certainly could be.
Yeah.
I also like how even by looking at them, if you didn't have your name on them, you could tell that they were part of a series, like without reading, oh, this is a Ranger Shield security novel. Because of I really like books like that. When they're part of a series, I like the covers to be different, but to have something that links them all together. And it's obviously the font of,
Mm.
betrayal, instinct, deception. And, even though they'll have a different tagline, you can still tell, okay, these are part of a series.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you got the same person to design all four of those covers?
Yep, yep, she did all of them. And again, basically for what you said, the consistency, because if you had different artists, it's kind
Yeah.
of tough for them to kind of meld it. It was much easier for her just to do all of them. And I
Yeah.
love the job she did. I'm going to keep using her.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's tough to find artists sometimes these days, or people that create covers for you, because I don't know if you're on X, but I'm on X, and there's a lot of scammers on there. Like, it's my
Oh, yes.
inbox is
Oh, it's one of my
full.
favorite things to follow you on Instagram. I love when you post about scammers, because
Scammers, yeah.
but it is. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I get somebody that will reach out for something, and some of them are pretty obvious. Some of them are not. I
Yeah.
mean, some of them have gotten so good at it.
Yeah.
So no, I love that you post that, because I truly think for a lot of the people when they first start in this business, it would be so easy for them to get
Yeah.
scammed and lose money that they simply don't have yet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a serious thing. I haven't done one in a while, because one, that backed off. But but to some, it's a, I want to focus more on writing at the moment. It's like,
Yeah.
because I could do them all the time. I could just, because if a funny one comes along, like, it's like, hi, I'm J.K. Rowling. How are you? You kind of like, that's just like, why are you even trying that? Like, why are you trying to? One of the last ones I did, it was a guy, a famous author, and he was like born in the 1930s or 40s, and he's really old. I'm going, like, you go to his real website, and it's like a website from the 90s, and there's no link to any of his social media, and it's like, he's clearly a guy that doesn't use social media,
Right.
but it's just like,
Yeah.
how I'm waiting for someone to come along to pose as an author that's dead. Like, that'd be my dream,
Yeah.
Will happen at some point.
Because it's just like, you didn't check, Uh, cool, cool, cool. So you've got this series done. You've got another series coming. Like, how much preparation do you do in advance? Do you have another closet where you put all your book ideas in? Like what's that look like?
I do have a journal. I'm very old school. When I'm first, even with the first series back during COVID, and now even with the second series going through, I actually like writing things physically, like with a pen or
Oh,
a
that's cool.
pencil, jotting a lot of stuff down in a journal.
Hmm.
And then once I feel like I get to a certain point, then I can take that stuff and I'll actually type it out on my computer. But it helps me. I don't know. I feel like there's been research done on it, but I don't know where, but the ability to actually write stuff down. And I'm worse than a doctor. Like my chicken scratch is barely legible. I can read it, and that's all that matters. But it's not about that. It's more, I don't know, just when you start writing, I just find that more things start to flow. But I also have the ability to just scratch it out and write stuff down. The problem is when you're typing stuff and you go back and delete it, gone.
It's gone.
Sometimes I will write something down and be like, "No, I don't like that. I like this better." But then 2 days later, I'll be like, you know what? No, what I wrote 2 days ago, I think I like that better. You can still kind of see it underneath the scribbles.
Yeah.
So it gives me, especially in the beginning days, really trying to plot stuff out. I like being able to go back to that journal and tell. But that journal also has other ideas, maybe standalone books that completely different
Yeah.
books, other things, ideas for other books. I've got a lot of stuff just written down in a journal.
Are there any other genres that you've thought about tackling other than the ones you're working on?
I mean, like a thriller. Again, I write romantic suspense,
Yeah.
so I've got a little bit of that aspect in these
Yeah.
books, but to do one without the romance element, I think, I could probably do that. I think for me, it really just stems to I like a happy ever after. So it may get very dark somewhere in that book, but I like there to be a happy ending.
Yeah.
Those are just usually easier the easiest way to do that is to have, the romance work out in the end.
Yeah.
So it was easier for me to kind of go with those. But I do think it would be fun to write more of a thriller base where there isn't really a romance aspect to it.
Yeah.
But it's just the suspense or the thriller.
Cool.
But not there yet.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Just curious because I write everything. It's just like I'm a mishmasher. I like to mishmash all the genres.
I mean, I guess to a certain extent, I have written nonfiction, in my day job,
Yeah.
From doing that stuff, and I truly do enjoy it. I'm a science brain, so I like a lot of the nerdy stuff there. So I get to write about climate change, and I get to write about weather, and I get to write about, space and all kinds of fun stuff. It's just a more condensed version because it's, got to be a more short story length. But yeah, I guess I have sort of written nonfiction in that aspect of it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Cool.
So a question that I have is how spicy are these books?
So here's what's funny. So when I wrote them, so there is like a category for romance books. There's like where there's nothing. They're called the clean versions where, there's characters, but there's no real like spice level introduced. Then you have, the closed door where it's implied, it's mentioned, but you don't get into like the specific details. And there's open door, which you put it all out there, but it's still more based on the general plot and just kind of the romance is sprinkled in. When it is, you get the details, but it's not the bulk of it. And then there's what we call erotica, which is there's not really much of a plot.
There's no door, there's no broom.
No, like I mean,
Just
it's mostly just sexy times, and that's about it. So my books are considered open door, where in that, it's not they're sprinkled in, but there's the base of the plot. Then within that, you have different levels inside of it. A lot of it is based on like how many times do you mention it? Do you have just one or two spicy scenes? Do you have 5 or 6? And how deep do they go? When you look at reviews, you get stars for that people like the book. When it comes to romance, you get little chili peppers. So like the spice level. So you can get 1 chili pepper, which is low end, 5 chili peppers, which is, it goes all in. Most of mine, well, here, let me tell you this. When I wrote them, I thought I was writing more of like a 3 to 4, only for editors and reviewers, like ARC reviewers, all of these people to come back and be like, oh, you're like a 2, maybe a 2.5. Which was interesting to me because I read a lot of romance and I kept thinking to myself, I was like, Lord, what is a 5? Because in my mind, I kept thinking I was writing something that was a little bit more than it was. But yeah, most of my books are probably around the 2 to 2.5. I will say every book is different.
Okay.
So the first 2 are about the same in the series. The third one, it's a little higher. And then the fourth one is much lower. So not all books are the same. And for me, it was more whatever felt right for the characters. The fourth one, it was very much what's called a slow burn. So because of that, there's so much buildup. it's the last, if I had added more to it, it would have been like the last 5 chapters all had a spicy scene.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So the fourth book, there really was only like 2 parts of it that got that way. The third book had like 4 or 5. And then the first 2 had
Okay.
3. So like each one is a little bit different, but I just went with, in my mind, what I felt like, what felt natural to the characters.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm used to now that I'm reading a lot more horror, and obviously you watch the traditional horror movies, you know, your Friday the 13th, your Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween. There's always a bit of, like a few sex things in it, because the rule in horror is if you want to survive, you don't have sex. Because if you have sex, you will die in a horror movie. I've watched enough horror movies to know that that is the case. So I always, whenever we speak to someone who does romance and romance and thriller, or romance and supernatural, that kind of thing, I always like to ask that question just in case some of our viewers, like we have viewers all over the world, so some people might be really into spicy stuff, so other people might not like spicy stuff. So I always like to ask that question because just so our viewers can judge whether or not that this book would be suitable for them.
Yeah. And it's a great question because, when you go to book signings or when you finally start to meet people that read, you get totally different people. I've had some
Mhm.
people, like I've had a family member that was like, it's a bit too much. And then I went to a book signing with it was a book club. It was like a group of old
Yeah.
women that do book club. And I'm not saying old, like, I mean, I'm talking like 70s, 80s, 90-year-old women.
Yeah.
And I had this woman, for this, we will call her Nancy.
Oh
And
my.
Nancy came up to me, and this was after my second book had come out. So she said, I read your first one on the Kindles and I loved it. And I can't wait to read your second one. But um, you need to add some more scenes. Just maybe spruce it up a little. Oh no, it gets better. She gave me her email address and told me I could contact her and she would help me write a shower scene. That's what my books really needed. She
Wow.
was so sweet, but she was like, I'm barely 5 feet, 88 years old, like the exact opposite of what you would think. She was so friendly, but yes, she wants me to reach out to her so she can she can help me write
Mhm.
some spicy scenes for my future books.
Oh,
So, but
that's
again, it
funny.
goes to your point
Wow.
of like everybody likes something a little bit different because I have
Yeah.
some people that
Yeah.
say I probably should have toned it down, and then there's people like Nancy that want more.
Uh,
Definitely, and that's the thing. Like I never would have thought my grandmother when she was with us, she was like the typical grandmother you see on, movies and sitcoms. She was the sweetest old lady. She would do anything for you. She'd give you the shirt off her back. And I didn't. She actually got me into reading like fantasy, like wizards, and I never thought she would be into that kind of thing. And she'd like when me and my sister used to stay with her once a fortnight, so we could spend time with her, and our parents could get a break from us because we were pretty full on kids. And yeah, she once gave me a book, by David Eddings called Belgaric the Sorcerer, and that got me into reading, fantasy a lot. Because then by then I was that young that I hadn't discovered Lord of the Rings. I hadn't discovered, anything like that. And I just thought you would think this little old lady never, she'd never heard anyone. She's reading these fantasy books with dragons and sorcerers and wizards and all that. And exactly, you never know what stuff people are into until they tell you.
yeah.
So that doesn't surprise me at all that there's like old people that are really into spicy scenes in
Oh
books.
That's a
yeah.
that's a
So
sitcom. That's a
100%.
that's a sitcom moment right there. Like that's
Oh, definitely.
like it's an episode of Golden Girls. Um,
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, wasn't there on Golden Girls, wasn't it? Was it Blanche, the one that was like very promiscuous?
Oh yeah.
She used to always have a new man on her arm.
yeah.
So, see, I know my Golden Girls. My grandmother used to watch it as well, and we used to watch it with her. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I do remember there was one that was very, very promiscuous.
There's always one. Oh, that's awesome. Um,
Yeah.
what do you say we jump into this bonus stuff and put
Let's do it.
Allison on the spot? These are all relatively easy. We get a lot of great answers. They're all book related, so we're not
Hmm.
going to ask you about it's not science trivia or
Although you
Or anything
probably
like
would do
that.
I
quite
would
well
nail
with
that.
you probably. Yeah, I was going to say you probably do really well with the science trivia.
Yeah.
So.
Why isn't Pluto a planet anymore? No.
I could answer that. I won't, 'cause it'll take up too much time, but I
I
could
know.
answer that.
I know. It's the running joke. Well, what's it? What was that show? There's some show where there's a show called Psych. Did you ever watch Psych?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how Gus was always going like whenever he met a girl, he's like, "You hear about Pluto? Ah, sad, isn't it?" Uh, that yeah, I love that. I love that show, um, hands down. But we're not here to talk about Psych. We're here to ask the first
that's
question.
that's our other podcast.
Our other podcast. Yes. Anyway, from your early child days when you used to read a lot, maybe, what's a book that stood out to you, like one of the first ones you read?
Um, it was a book called The Babysitter's Club.
I
It was
remember the
about a
baby.
bunch of
Oh yes,
teenage girls that were
Yep.
babysitters, but they
yeah.
were all
I'm going to
friends.
admit,
You were a fan?
yeah, I used to read them too. I was actually a fan of the baby because I read so much,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm not going to read this, and then I read it. I'm like, oh, mystery. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I was definitely probably the first, like I would say, like a series of chapter books that I really
Yeah.
probably got into when I was younger. Yeah.
No, my sister was at all the rage. Did they do a series or a movie as well? Didn't they?
yeah, they did a
Did do a
series, a TV
movie.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I never saw it, but I do recall having something out there.
I'm gonna Google it right now because otherwise my brain is
I
just not.
remember, I remember when I was little, my dad would laugh at me because I'd go from watching wrestling, like WWF wrestling, to watching the Babysitter's Club. So
Yep.
yeah,
Hey,
1995 TV series.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it used to be on our ABC, which was like our kids, essentially new. All the ABC had over here back in those days was news and kids
kids
shows, and
shows.
that
Yeah.
was it.
just yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah.
there you go. That's
All
a
right,
ain't
question.
not a blast from the past.
Yeah, there you go. Like I
Yeah.
grew up on Goosebumps, which is sort of horror,
Yes.
and then Babysitter's Club.
Yeah.
Yes.
I told this story before, but my mum really helped me also get into reading when I was a lot younger, when I was still in school. A new Goosebumps book would come out every week or every fortnight, and out here it was only $4.99 at the time, like $5. And my mum and my grandmother used to go shopping on a Wednesday, and every Wednesday I'd come home and there'd be a new Goosebumps book, and I
Oh,
would
that's
try and
epic.
read it all before the next week so that I could be up to date and have the next one to read. So, I
Mm,
mean, there was with the Goosebumps book, I think all up there was like 100 and something books, and I actually got a chance to read them all, thanks to my mum just spending $5 a week.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it got me off playing video games for a while and just reading. So, I owe a lot of my reading now to my parents and my
But those
grandmother.
were good
So
books. I have not read all of them like
yeah.
you. I've read probably maybe a dozen or two, but those were good books.
Mm,
Definitely. Oh, 100%. And then, with R.L. Stein, once I moved past that and I got into high school, he had some sort of mature-ish books, like with a little bit more horror and a little bit, and I credit R.L. Stein for probably my addiction to horror movies now.
mm.
So thank you, R.L. Stein, for that.
That's it.
All right, question number two. If you could spend the day with any fictional character, who would it be and what would you do? Now, this doesn't have to be book related. It could be
Anyone?
movie, TV, video games, whatever.
The first thing that comes to mind is a book character though, like Harry Potter. I want him to teach me magic. I want
Mm,
him to teach me how to do some of those things. I mean, I guess it could be technically, I guess, any character from
yeah.
Harry, like it could be Hermione, it could be any of them, but one of them so that they could teach me how to do magic. That
Mm.
would be cool.
What iteration? Like when they're much older, obviously, so they have all the skills.
Yeah, that's true. Because in the first couple, they didn't really have much skills.
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe like
No.
last book Hermione, 'cause she
Yeah.
was the smart one. So like,
Yeah.
maybe that version.
Excellent. Excellent. That's cool. All right, the next one. Okay, yes, this is a favorite one. I'm going to set the scene for you, all right?
Okay.
There's a log cabin. I'm going to bring up a picture to reference it all, but there's a log cabin, there's a fireplace, and someone is sitting in a chair with your favorite book, and they're going to read it to you. who's that person, living, dead, anyone, is going to come in and read your favorite book to you?
Probably the person that wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because, they know the mindset of the book a little bit more.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I have two favorite books. Like I have a favorite book that is fiction and a favorite book that is nonfiction. So, but it would work for either one of these. It's still going to be the author of said book.
Ooh.
So for me, it would be, which is The Asset. That is my favorite fiction book, written by Anna Del Mar. So again, it would be very cool. It's like a psychological romance thriller. Loved it. But it's still a romance book. I would have her read it to me. And then the nonfiction book, again, I laughed so hard now that you're asking me this question because of what you asked earlier. It's called The Pluto Files by Neil deGrasse Tyson. It is literally his description of why Pluto is no longer a planet. But it would be cool. In the book, if you don't know it, it's literally all of the hate mail that he got from children because he was on the committee to basically remove Pluto's planets. It's all the letters that kids wrote him, like, why did you get rid of my favorite planet? But then his response to them. So it was a very interesting kind of book. But I would love to have him read it to me so that he could also give me more context to some of the letters and some of the stuff that's in the book.
Sounds like a book I need to read.
Yeah, it was a very interesting book. Again, tongue in cheek, but it was a very good book.
Yeah.
I can definitely get behind what you're saying in relation to having the person who wrote the book read it to you, because I not only do I read, but I also have quite a large Audible collection, and most of the books that I have, especially the biographies, the non-fictions, I love biographies of famous people, musicians, whatever they may be. You're 100% right. If they're reading you their book, they've got the insight. They created that world. They're going to be the ones to tell the story the best way possible. And I 100%, if a book I like is read by the author, I would 100% get it and listen to it. So I can 100% get behind that answer. Because there's nothing like having the person who wrote the story read it to you.
But what if they sound like a clown on helium or something? But they got a really annoying voice.
It'd be annoying, but I'd still stick it out because they still know the world.
Yeah.
The only other one that I've had that has actually exceeded my expectations is The Lord of the Rings, read by Andy Serkis, because he does all the voices. He does Gollum because that's who he is, but he literally does all the voices. He does Frodo, Gandalf. Every character has their own voice because he's such a talented person when that comes to it. But every other book pretty much I have is read by the author.
Yeah, reflection, because they know how they want characters to sound. It's just, you don't have to question that. I think that would definitely add, again, even if their voice was annoying, they're going to give me how the character was intended to say and do things.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And also pronunciation of names.
Yes.
Because sometimes especially with the Lord of the Rings book, God, I wish we're back in a time where J.R.R. Tolkien was alive and he could read it, because I'm sure we're not pronouncing those words correctly sometimes. But a pronunciation, because so many times I've said a word one way and then you hear, an interview with the author, or, you listen to the audio book and it is pronounced completely different and it changes your whole world. Yeah. So, that is another good reason.
That's like when we found out that Australia was pronouncing a shoe brand wrong.
Is that Adidas?
Which one is it? Adidas.
Yeah, Adidas.
We were saying Adidas.
Adidas.
We were saying Adidas.
We've called it Adidas my entire life. And we watched that movie with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, and they're going like Adidas, and you're like, "What's the? Oh my gosh!" Whole nation, our entire nation.
That was the movie about how the Air Jordans came about, wasn't it?
Fantastic film.
That was a good one. Yeah, but we always say Adidas, and the only other reference I had was a Korn song, it's called Adidas, but it means something else, and they don't say Adidas, they just say what each letter means. So I was like, when I watched that movie, I'm like, really, Adidas? Adidas sounds so much better.
Yeah.
But that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, question number 4 is a very easy one. What's a must-read indie book? So a book that's not a traditional published book, but you feel like you've read and it had such an effect on you, you want to recommend it to everyone else.
There is a book. It's called Outfoxed by Donna. Oh, I'm blanking on her last name. I feel terrible. Donna's her first name, and it's called Outfoxed. I have to admit, I'm not big on like shapeshifter books. I've nothing against it. It's just never really been my cup of tea to read.
Mhm.
That was the But it's part of like an author book swap. So a bunch of indie authors, will pass our own books around so that you can have other people kind of like help you out. Like, hey, how could I have marketed this better? Or hey, like what could I so like a lot of us will do these book swaps. And that was part of a book swap program. So it's the very first shapeshifter book I've ever read. And it was again, maybe it's because I don't have much other shapeshifter book knowledge, but it was such an easy read for me, and I truly just thought that shapeshifters would be harder for me to read because I don't really get the
Yeah.
concept because I've just never really read that before. But it was such an
Yep.
easy read. She did a great job of blending the characters and making them, I don't know, just like I got lost in that world. And that's not typically a type of genre that I would read. I have read some similar type fantasy books. This was just different, but I would recommend it to anyone who hasn't really read those types of books before, but maybe wants an easy book to kind of get into it. That would be a great book. And again, indie author, she's Canadian. Um, indie author, that would be a great book to kind of introduce people to.
You're gonna love
Okay.
this. I pulled it up. Is her name Donna Fox?
Yes, yes. I was gonna say it's something close to the name of the book, but
Yeah,
I couldn't remember.
Outfoxed
Yes,
by
so it's
Donna Fox.
Outfoxed by Donna Fox. Yes,
Yeah. It could have multiple meanings, the name of that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's cool. No, I'll put the link down in the show notes, guys. Check it. We all love supporting indie authors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's our
definitely.
jam. That's our jam. All right, and for the last question, which is either going to be really hard or really easy. There's no in
Ooh,
between,
okay.
Jamie, it's not the last question.
isn't it?
No. You've done this so many times now.
Oh, there you go. No, it's because my head
Because
my head.
that last
Yeah.
the last question is my favorite
Yeah.
question. And I was like, when you said I'm gonna go first, I was excited
Okay.
because I like to read the last question.
Okay. No, that's fine because what do you call it? Because we have 5 questions to start with and a six at the end. That's when my brain was going. But we can edit this
Got
out in
it.
post to make myself look good. Um, all right. So, um, if you could take any protagonist from any one of your books and throw them into the works of someone else, who would you pick and where would they go? Again, it can
Ooh.
be movies, it can be cartoons, or anything you want. Books, movies, video games, whatever. But they've got to be a protagonist from your book.
Okay. So the main male character in my second book, his name is Vince. I think he would have been, he's kind of a bounty hunter type of character. So he works for the private security company, but he deals a lot with the bounty hunters. I
Okay.
remember writing him thinking like he would be a really good character in the show that we mentioned, Burn Notice. Like I feel like he would have had like the antics, the fun
Yeah.
camaraderie he would have had with the main character in that show. That would be fun to kind of have them work a case together. I think
Yeah.
that would be really cool to see that.
Awesome. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see like knowing not having read your books yet, but knowing Burn Notice, if he's more
Right.
on the bounty hunter kind of side of things, I think he'll fit
Yeah.
right in.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, now we're up to the last question, which is my favorite question. It's a simple, again, it's like a really simple question, but it will make you think. You're stranded
Okay.
on a desert island. What are the 3 books that you can take with you? You can only take 3. What are the 3 books that you choose to take with you?
And it looks like that island. Okay. Oh
Yes.
gosh, that is hard. Um, Probably my two favorite books. So, like I said, the one that's The Asset by Anna Del Mar, which is my
Mhm.
favorite fiction book. The Pluto Files by Neil deGrasse Tyson, my favorite nonfiction book. So I could read those 100 times and never get bored with them. I love reading them. So I think if
Mhm.
if you're stuck reading the same books over and over,
Mhm.
I would want it to be those two. Third one though, oh goodness, that is gonna be it's a tough one.
I mean, you can opt out if you want. Yeah.
No, you
Yeah,
can't.
I
You
don't
cannot.
know.
You need to answer this question. You have to answer this
No, I don't want to
question.
leave you hanging.
Yeah.
especially if none of the other people you've had on have done that.
Yeah.
Can't be the first. And it's not that it's, I think it's more like a lot of books come to mind. I think it's more you're just trying to narrow like down which one.
Yeah.
Like I can easily think of like 5 other books that I could read a whole bunch. I'm just trying to figure out which of those means more to me that I would want to keep it. Oh, let's go this way. Anything by Kristen Ashley. Any of her, like if somebody just threw me one of her books, if it came, so she has a
That's
series called The Rock.
kind of cheating.
Yes.
That's kind of cheating.
Okay. Okay. So she has a series called The Rock Chicks. We'll go with the first one. I could pick any of them from that series, but we'll go with the first one. So I will pick the very first book in her Rock Chick series that I would take with me.
Because we have been lenient with people in the past. Like some people have said, "Oh, I'll take the Lord of the Rings books," and that counts as one when it's actually 3 books.
Yeah.
And I was
True.
like, "No, we're getting too lenient on this podcast.
No.
We need to make people stick to the question."
No. Well, I've always said if you can smuggle a book in because it's printed under the cover, like I have 2 books like that. I have H.G. Wells' book where it's War of the Worlds and something else under one cover.
Yeah, but that's one book. That's still one book.
That's still one book. So if there's a collection
Yeah.
that's under one book, that works. You can
That's
squeeze
fine.
2 books in. That still counts.
It does,
Okay.
because it's only classified as one book.
Yeah.
But we
One
had
book.
someone who said, "Oh, I'll take this trilogy," and it was 3 separate books, and they
Yeah.
wanted to count it as one, and we let it go. And I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? We need to be tougher on our guests.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'll
Okay,
lose
then
our credibility.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay, so then I will change my third book, and I will put knowing that it's a book. It is a series, but you get 3 books in one, and then you get another 3 books in one, and another. So it's the National Park Mystery Series. So it's a bunch of mysteries that take place in U.S. national parks. And it's like a young
Okay.
adult book. So
Like
it's
an
like teenagers that
anthology, like an anthology
kind of, yeah,
kind of
the
thing.
teenagers kind
Yeah.
of figure it out. But the first 3 parks, which are each kind of individual books, but they're all lumped in one physical book. So you can have the physical book itself, and
fine.
it's got the first 3. So that's what I would
That's
pick for my third.
fine.
That counts. That's fair game.
Yeah, that's fine. And look, I'm all for, that's why if someone asked me, I would pick like an omnibus of a certain comic book, because there's like 150 issues in one book. I'm all about being creative.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I'm not accepting trilogies anymore. Come on.
Fair.
That's just cheating.
Ultimate Spider-Man, Ryan. Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yes. But not the version you've got. There is one version which has, I think, the first entire series, so the first 150 issues in one. I would take that.
But does it end on a cliffhanger?
It does, actually. It does. Yeah, okay, then I'd have to take, because that's how you get into it. You have to take the next lot because that
you get to the end of it on the island. You're like, no, what happens? And then you find the book lying there. And you find a book lying there, and it's going like, why Pluto isn't a planet anymore? You're like, no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a blast.
It's been so much fun. I've enjoyed this.
Yeah. So let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you, buy your books, and keep up to date with everything you're doing.
Yeah. So the easiest place would be to go to my website, which is AllisonBettes.com. Because then you can get redirected to wherever you want to buy the book. So if you want a print book, I've got, autographed copies that I sell straight from my website. And I do ship internationally. Or, if you prefer the ebooks or whatever, other things, you can find whatever version you would like, straight from the website. That's probably going to be the easiest. Because I do sell on multiple retailers. So that way you can kind of pick, where you would want to go.
Excellent. Well, guys, all the links will be down in the show notes. Be sure to check it out. Check out our sponsors, Rebecca Castles, Martin Kearns. They've got some great stuff out. As always, if you want to reach out, thetrueandthefictional at gmail.com. But be warned, we are very booked out at the moment. But we have a list, and we're adding people to it all the time. and we would love to have you on at some point. And yeah, buy Ryan's shirt.
And we do accept Ryan. Buy my shirt, please. Buy my damn shirt. Yeah, all funds go to keeping dolphins and whales safe or something. I don't know, but we'll just buy my goddamn shirt. And with that list, if you do send us monetary bribes, we will move you up the list at our discretion.
Or maybe just buy Ryan's shirt and then
just buy my shirt, please. If one person that listens to this episode buys my shirt, I will be a very happy man.
That's it. Cool. All right, guys. Until next time, keep supporting those indie authors, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
See you next time.